Hello everyone, and welcome to the second devlog for Vengeful Rites, a virtual reality RPG. My name's Anthony, and today's devlog will probably be a pretty short one. I'd just like to go over some of the things coming to the game and show you some of the stuff that should be introduced in tomorrow's patch, which will be Saturday. And that is, the first thing I'm going to show you is your boy in front of us. This is one of the first enemies being added for Chapter 2. Obviously, he's a spooky skeleton. And the second chapter will be, it'll have much more of a spooky sort of vibe, like haunted feeling to it. Bigger open areas than what you've seen in Chapter 1. It's not all caves. And yeah, this is the first guy. This is his armor. It hasn't been properly textured yet. Right now it just has this steel material applied to it. But this is what he looks like, and I think he's coming out pretty cool so far. He's going to have a totally different move set from what you've seen so far. This one in particular is very likely going to be dual wielding, so that'll be a nice new challenge for people to have to adapt to. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We'll show a lot more of that in the next devlog. He'll be configured, and we'll be able to fight him and all of that, and probably show off some of the other enemies. But in the meantime, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, show you some of the new stuff coming to the game, not just the changes we've been making. Also, his armor set will work the same way as armor on the other enemies, which is it'll be randomized at runtime. So coming across a bunch of different skeletons, they won't necessarily all look the same, or you won't fight them the same way. But beyond that, there's a few other things I'd like to talk about today. One of them, this is actually already in the game. It went in with the last patch, but I feel like it's worth mentioning, is that you now have a physical, visible slot for where you can store your bow. We've seen far too many people not realize that's there and try to put the bow in their backpack, and then obviously that doesn't really lend itself to a quick sort of fluid play style of being able to switch between weapons on the fly like we wanted. So this was definitely necessary, and hopefully that'll avoid any confusion going forward. Something else we changed now is that stealth. The tutorial will talk about it. You'll see that now before you fight the first goblin. It'll be explained to you. And the other change is that teleporting now has an indicator. You see how this starts out sort of brown-orange color? The further you go, once you get past a certain range, you see it becomes what you guys are used to, which is the standard blue and green. And this demonstrates that you're teleporting slowly enough to not be detected by stealth, because for sliding, it seems like it's a little bit easier to just maintain this slow and steady speed and know for sure that you're not going to be detected. But for teleporting, it could be kind of hard to eye it out sometimes. So we figured we would give you some sort of indication to make that a little bit easier. And this is probably a placeholder effect. We'll most likely put in some sort of icon to show that it's stealth instead of just a color change. But for now, this gets the job done. And hopefully it's a welcome improvement. And you can see that while doing it, this guy doesn't know that I'm here because I'm moving so slowly. You could also see that he has some pieces of armor on him that have been randomized. So he's got gauntlets and some leg guards. And if I move too quickly now, you can see he heard me, and same as usual, we'll have to fight each other. There you go. Switch back over to sliding locomotion. That's my preferred locomotion method. I'll show you now that in a little bit more detail. He only had a couple of armor pieces on him. I've put some over here that have specific armor pieces to demonstrate how this will work. All right, let's see if I can... You know what, I'll just run up to him. Why not? Hey, fellas. Here we go. So you can see this guy is decked out. He's ready to go. And that is going to severely reduce the amount of damage I can deal to him. You see this guy, I can do normal damage when I hit him in the head. This one I have to be a little more particular. I have to try to slice him in the arm there like I just did, or potentially in the feet, which already does reduce damage, so that's not ideal. But one thing, just when you come into a situation like this, it makes a lot of sense to just prioritize the guy that's not armored, get rid of him early, give yourself... Oh, nice. Been a while since I've actually been caught off guard by one of these things. But give yourself a chance to take out the weaker guy, and then you can take your time with this one. Something that's worth noting, though, is that magic is not affected by armor. So that's something worth keeping in mind. If you come across a couple of those guys and they happen to be decked out like that, it might be worth it to just expend the mana and do some work early on. But there's a few things coming that I'd like to just touch on briefly. Again, more of this will be showed off in the next devlog. One of which is we'll be adding a new style of weapon to the game pretty soon called we're thinking about a scepter, which functions as not as a sword, but as a melee weapon, but it'll be weaker for melee damage, but it will give you a bonus to your magic casting abilities. So for those of you who are trying to go the magic route, you want to be, battle mages or just mostly mages, that'll be a worthwhile option for you guys. We'll also be changing up the inventory system a little bit. So right now, you can store life fruit, elixirs, meteor shards in this area. This is mostly for weapons and tools. This, for those of you who have collected the first one, you'll know this is where your keystones go, which is what you'll need to get to Dragor at the end. And we'll be changing that up. So one, we're going to be adding quest items to the game. So there'll be puzzles in the coming chapters that will require you to collect things and then use those in order to complete your task, to solve certain puzzles, maybe pieces that you'll need. And two is we'll be allowing you guys to store normal mana potions and apples that you find. So, some enemies, when they die, they drop them. There's a couple of them scattered around the world. And then that way you'll have them for later on. If you end up needing them in the middle of a fight, you'll have them, right? It's one more way to give you a little more control over your experience, and just something to collect that makes it worthwhile to have an inventory system in the first place. Right now, it's just permanent things that you can hold, but why not allow you guys to have that kind of stuff too? And we'll very likely add stuff like that to the shop also. Not totally sure about that yet, because we don't want to affect the balance of it too much or make it too easy. But you see the shopkeepers so infrequently anyway, but it might be worth adding it to them. But for the most part, that's pretty much everything we wanted to talk about. Obviously, we're still hard at work on Chapter 2. The next devlog will go more into detail with the new enemies coming out. You'll see, I'll actually fight them a little bit and give you some insight into that. Maybe we'll have some of the environment to show off. I'm not totally sure about that yet. Don't quote me on it. It's possible. But we'll definitely be showing some of the enemies. We'll be showing off one of the big things that's being worked on is obviously we want to get the story more integrated into the game, because it's very bare bones right now, a lot of you know, and that's not our intention. If you think this is it as far as the story goes, you're very wrong. And the next thing that I'll be talking about in the next devlog, along with showing some of the fighting of the enemies, is an interaction system with the NPCs. So for example, primarily with the merchant, you'll be able to speak to him and he'll have a dialogue tree. You'll be able to get some more information, get the world a little more fleshed out, and yeah, basically just hopefully get drawn more and more into the world with every update. And yeah, that's most of what I wanted to talk about. Pretty much touches on everything. Hopefully we'll have this patch out tomorrow. There's a lot of other things that I didn't touch on. We're making some changes to boss fights, the usual bug fixes and quality of life stuff. But yeah, that patch should be out tomorrow, which is Saturday. And yeah, if you have any ideas or criticisms, or there's something in the game that you like, you want to see more of, or something you don't like so much, or something doesn't feel right, please let us know. We're very happy to take constructive criticism and make the game better. It's the whole reason we have these devlogs in the Discord. So I'll put a link to the Discord down in the description below, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for coming by.